Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Throwback, our favorite day of the month. It truly is so much fun. So, welcome, everyone. So glad to have you on with me. This is a throwback. It is a inspired throwback. Because some of these things from way back when, I have to adjust them so that they can be watercolored. So, I hope you guys like this one. This one was inspired by Debbie Hedges. We had breakfast it was probably been a week and a half ago now. And so she says, why don't you bring that mailbox back? And so we talked about it, decided whether we should whether I should have the baskets attached to the mailbox. What's the best way to do it? So Debbie, here you go. And I do love this one too. So I'll show you the original from way back in the 97 catalog. And then I will show you how I changed it up. So we will get to that. And then tomorrow I'm going to do another one because the way these things can be changed out with the seasons is just so much fun. And I want you to have lots of options. I want you to have lots of instruction and lots of options so that you could do different things with these. So um, Kristen, happy throwback day. It is really fun. It's fun for me, and I hope it's as fun for you as it is for me because taking that stroll down memory lane, some of these things go back decades, like literally decades, and especially this one from the 97 catalog. So let me just scroll back because I have missed all these hellos from all of you guys. So I gotta just scroll back on here and say hi Elaine was the early bird on here. She was the very first one from Albany, so right in our backyard. Hello, Elaine. Good morning, Kathy. Let's see. Anita, good morning from Holland. So glad to have you on with us. Great. This is awesome. Patricia, oh my word, so cute. Gotta order this. You know what? I have changed it up quite a bit, but it's still basically the mailbox with the basket in front of it. But I'm going to show you how to use that in a little different way. Dominique, hello from Miami. Probably hot there. Ellen, hello from the Netherlands. Good to have you on, Ellen. Good morning. Diana, good you're on, Diana. Hello. She says, my favorite day of the month. Me too. Peggy, good morning. Good to have you on. Debbie. Debbie Hedges. She is the one who inspired this throwback. She is in sunny, warm Salem. So just really close to where I live. Lots of components. Yep. And the grass stamps also her suggestion. So I love getting your ideas, you guys. I love, love, love that. Linda says, watching from very warm Colorado. You guys, the weather is heating up. It's getting hotter. So now we're in July, and that means hot weather, even in Oregon. Teresa, this is a must-have set. So much variety. Yep, it is. And I'll show you guys that because I opted to leave that basket off of the main stamp. Because it's going to be such a versatile little stamp. It's just a great size and it will just fit so many things. So I just thought it would be easier to keep it separate, and then you don't have to just ink that part of the stamp when you're using it. Okay, let's see. Jane, hello. Good morning. Margaret from sunny Ohio. Ellen says loves it. It's not one stamp. Yep. For versatility, and I'm always just in a quandary about that because sometimes it's easier to have everything attached. When you're in a hurry, you don't have to scrounge around and looking for things that you could put in the foreground or, adding things together that will fit. But sometimes it's just better to have them separate just because it's easier to use them with other things. So in this case, just because it was just a really good size and I like the way that it doesn't have too much detail, it's super easy to color. And for a wood basket, sometimes if they get too much detail in them, they can get too much color. So it's just a really good size, you guys. Trust me on that one. Let's see, who else? Lori, hello from Gilbert. Good to have you on. Cindy from Kansas. Carol, good morning. Julie, Barbara from Texas. Linda had a very large bear. Oh my gosh, Linda had a very large bear outside their kitchen window last Sunday evening. I don't recall thinking I needed a live model for my watercolor. Did you think about having it hold still just so that you could, just sketch it out? Oh my word. I'm not sure what I would do. Probably pass out. That's exactly what I probably would do with a bear outside my kitchen window. That would never happen where I live. But oh my word. Wow. Barbara, good morning. Jeanette, hello. Sheila, hello. Sandy and Wanda and Annette and Kristen, good to have you on. Happy Throwback Day to you too. Good morning, Carrie Lynn from British Columbia. And let's see. Debbie says, can't believe you did it so fast. You know what? When I'm inspired, I can just bust these things out. And when I'm at a deadline and under pressure, I can also do that. Mary, hello. She's in the car headed to Antioch, Illinois. Lucky for me, my hubby is driving. Great. Mary, if you don't get car sick, you can just take a little travel set with you and just watercolor the scenery as you're going by. I think that would be so much fun. I always think about doing something like that, but I can't read for more than like 2 minutes and I'm sick. So that would never work for me. Let's see. Mary Ann, favorite place to be. Yep, me too. Dominique, happy throwback. Ruth Ann, good morning, Ruth Ann. We are all, and I can speak for everyone, thrilled to have you on and so happy that you're doing better. Many, many, many prayers have gone up for Ruth Ann. She is so loved by all of us. Cindy says, any idea when the new freebies will be available? Thought it was July. It is July. And it's really soon. So you know what, if you guys haven't subscribed to our newsletter, it will notify you when those freebies are out, and really, really soon. So stay tuned, you guys. And they're so cute. I mean, I gotta say, because they were so fun to do. You guys are gonna love these. Paula, hello. Sherry, good morning. Yes, happy to see Ruth Ann here. Me too. Dory, hello from Ohio. Good to have you on. Mary Ann, drinking Canada Dry ginger ale mixed with mango juice. Hot afternoon here in Ontario. Our Canadian friends, love them so much. That sounds heavenly. That just sounds heavenly. Are you on your back deck or are you inside? Because it's so hot. Peter and Wendy, good morning from the Netherlands. Hello. Tony, hello. So happy to be in my new craft room, all organized and ready to paint. Tony, awesome. There's no better place to be. You know, when I am in my office and it's quiet, I am just like in heaven. And I don't know about you guys, but that's how I recharge, is in the quiet. And I rarely have anything on. Sometimes I listen to a podcast or, I'll have something, some music playing way low in the background. But most of the time, it's nothing, just silence. Fiona, hello. Can only get this when it's the school summer holidays. Oh, so glad you're on with us then. Rebecca, hello. Okay, good morning. Hope says hi, Oma. My littlest granddaughter, she is about, let's see, she's probably close to 2.5 now. Just the cutest little thing, and so articulate and just such a little talker. Just the cutest. Karen, hello from British Columbia. Consuelo, my favorite day too. Vicky, hello. Carol from Missouri. Simone, good to have you on. Shirley from Montreal. Suska, my friend Suska, welcome. Shirley and Lori from Hot, Georgia. Cute set, excited to watch live. You guys, we're going to get to that project. I got to get through this list, you guys. I can't just switch over until I've said hi to everybody on here. I just can't. Let's see. Val and Renee, hello. Kristen, Andrea, Kathy and Barbara, good to have you on. Samantha, Kathy, Ruby, Um, Nima, hello from Florida. Terry, hi, was driving, just parked. Cute set, hot here in New York. Car says 93. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Let's see, who else am I missing here? Melissa, Patricia, Barbara. She says, love the cats in the set, the best. Okay, I know there are cat lovers that will love this, and then there are dog lovers who don't just love cats. But these cats are really cute, and they're kittens. So, maybe that will make a difference for you. Okay, Stephanie, Shirley, good morning. Mary, yes, Ruth Ann has been in our prayers. Mary Ann's well said. She says, Ruth Ann, all is well with the world when you are here with us. Amen to that, Mary Ann. Absolutely echoed by all of us. Okay, you guys, let's get to the project. So enough chatting with me here, and let's get to our project. So there are two samples here. We're going to do one of these today. We're going to start out with this one just because it's summer. We're going to do the summer one. And then tomorrow we're going to do the fall. And then also tomorrow I will show you a Christmas scene. So a snowy scene that you can do with this too. So it's always fun to show different seasons that you can do. You could also change it up. There's a little stack of presents here that could be a birthday with all the little cards in it, which would be just so cute. So I just think there's a lot of different ways that you can use it. So here is the set, and let me just zoom in here so that you guys can see. Here is the actual set, and it comes with all these different pieces. So this piece here is by itself. And this is the simple mailbox. The letters this time, and I have another mailbox that's similar in size, so I really wanted to change it up. I added the letters inside because I feel like there's not a lot of occasions where you wouldn't have some mail in the box. I think, for the most part, unless you want to tuck something else in here, like maybe one of these little squirrels, you could tuck the little body of the squirrel in here. You can always leave the envelopes off. And, if you do that, if you don't ink these, literally it's one line that will come down like this in the mailbox. So if you don't ink this little section, you only have to put one line in. So it would be really simple to change that up. You could also leave these off if you wanted to, and it's one simple line across the top. So really, really easy to make those adjustments if you want to use these little squirrels somewhere else, because they're really cute. And it would be really fun to add to some other scene that you have. Here is that little basket, and it is actually, let me just measure that because I have it right here. It's just a little over an inch. It's about 1 1/8 inches wide, and it is, let's see, it is about 3/4 of an inch tall. So you can see it on here. This is the actual size right here of that little basket. It's just a really nice size. It fits, the florals. Here's some of the florals that we have and the foliages. You can see that it fits in here perfectly. Super easy to add. Sometimes when they're too big, the pots are too big or too deep, it's hard to fill them up. But for some reason, this one is just a really, really good size. So it's separate. It's separate right here. And then you can add it to the bottom. And I went ahead and added 2 on here just to show you what that looks like. You don't have to. You don't have to add 2 on here. You could add 3 if you want to, and tuck 1 back here in the back. So depending on what you have in here, you just want to color part of the post. So you can see most of the post is gone because it's kind of made to have a basket under it or in front of it. So most of the post is off. But again, it's literally, a straight line down if you want to put the mailbox somewhere by itself. It's just a straight line. So remember that with the, with these types of things, a pencil will change everything. So a pencil line will just blend right into your watercolor and there will be no issues with that at all. These things here are made to fit exactly in the basket. Exactly. So, the presents, you can see the image isn't complete. It's just partial. So are the little cats, so are the apples. And that's because they are made to fit this basket. So you can put them in here and change them around. So you can see here are the cats, the apples, and the leaves, which are so cute for fall. They're really cute for fall. You could also take these and add them down here to the bottom. Add a few of those. I've just got a little branch, with some leaves changing color in here in the background. And then of course, little nail. But the squirrels are really good for any occasion. They really are. They're so cute. And for a snowy one, you can just put a little scarf around their neck and they could be just really Christmassy. It'll be so cute. I'll show you that tomorrow. We'll do the fall one, unless overwhelmingly you guys say you want to do the Christmas one. If I see that overwhelmingly, then we will do the Christmas one. But for now, I feel like most of the time when you guys request, it's a fall theme. So this is what I'm planning to do. But if you overwhelmingly want that Christmas scene, we can do that with the snow. And because see, you've got these little presents, which I added because I thought this would be such a cute thing for a birthday. Because you could tuck the presents in here, down here in the bottom, like they're coming with the mail. And then in here, you could put your flowers. And the flowers would just be really, really cute. You could tie onto the mailbox a balloon, a couple of balloons up here. And then, of course, you've got these little guys here that are sitting on top, to kind of wish you a birthday. You could also, tie something on here and have it kind of go up like this, which would also be really, really cute. So, keep that in mind with the gifts because, even for like a shower, any kind of special occasion, I just keep thinking of birthday. Val says, please do the fall one and then show the Christmas. Yep, that's my plan. That's what I plan to do, Val, because that's what I feel like you guys, like I said, I feel like you really want to see the fall scenes, want to see me do the fall scenes. And the Christmas one is a little easier to visualize as far as how to put it together because it's snowy and we've done a lot of snowy scenes. And I feel like you guys, just have that down. So this is the plan, unless I just, get 100 of you that just say, no, the Christmas. And then also in here are these little, this wild grass. They're a little bit smaller than what I have, and they work really well. So you can see them. We're going to use them today, and you could see them here. They're very thin, so that they're easy to stamp over in front of a lot of color. And that's what I love about them. So they've got these little, wild grass kind of details on them. And so we're gonna stamp those. The leaves, of course, for fall, and the apples, the presents, the little kittens, just because it's fun to add some little characters in here. I just think they add a ton. And so, then I'm thinking with the little cats in here, how cute would a little Halloween one be with these little cats? And then, cobwebs growing up all over. And I think that's some old dried, branches, and then maybe a couple of jack-o'-lanterns in here. And I think that would be so cute. You could put a little cape on here where it's just kind of coming down like this. In here, it would be really easy to just leave the top off and just put a little witch's hat on there. It would be so cute. So, keep that in mind, you guys, for different things, because I really think about that when I put these things together, how they can be used in multiple different ways. Patricia says, fall is just around the corner. Please do the fall one and show us the Christmas. Yep, I will. It looks like overwhelmingly that's what you guys want. So that's what we'll do tomorrow is we will do the fall, and then I'll show you the Christmas one. Georgia, yes, fun. She says this set has so many fun things that could be done. Right. Yes. And I wanted to show you the two baskets together because I think it's really cute by adding additional ones. Really, really cute. You could also put different things up on the mailbox. You could just take these off. And like I said, it's literally one line across the top. If you remove these, if you don't ink them, is what I mean. So if you ink everything and you just don't ink the two squirrels, you're going to have an open patch right here, and it's a simple line from corner to corner, and you have your mailbox. Okay, so this is what includes, and these are mirror images, so there's a left and a right. I just, anymore, that is so handy to have. These grasses that swing to the right or swing to the left, depending on where you want to put it. It's really handy to have those. So these are mirrors next to each other. Now this is the free stamp that comes with the set. So if you buy the throwback, you will get this little duck, and she fits perfectly into the same basket. So let me just show you. Here is the actual size of that. Isn't this cute? This is the actual size, and the stamp has these little water lines right here. So these little water lines, and it will fit perfectly into this basket. The little water lines will go edge to edge, fit perfectly, and then take your pencil and just close the basket, just like that. And then you could add a little water down below, or, some little grasses or whatever you want to add, but isn't she cute? She will come perfectly, or she will come free with your set. So you will also get the little duck that fits into the basket, which also would be really, really cute. So if you took this out, took these little kittens out, put the little duck in here, I think that would just be so cute. Consuelo, she says, is this set in rubber? Yes, the throwbacks are always going to be in rubber, just because they started out that way. And we've kept that consistent, and we're just going to keep doing that. So all of these things that come in the throwback on that Tuesday are all rubber, will all be rubber. Siska, I'm thinking new arrival for a new baby. Maybe use the new baby set with it. Yes, how cute. Yes, that would be so cute. I think this little duck too, for a baby theme, would be just really fun to do. You could have the little presents in here, and then you could have the little duck in this basket. And then you could have, just your little balloons kind of up here. There are many balloon stamps that you could use, and you could just have them in here like that, and that would be just so cute, and especially for a birthday or any kind of theme like that. Okay, so this is free with this. So this is the official throwback set. It's this one right here. It's called the Country Mailbox, and let me show you where it is in the catalog. So this is it right here. And I kept the basket because it is part of the, the original had the basket, but here is the adjusted version. And it's got lots of different things that can go in it. But you see how busy this is in here? Look, this just could never, this would never work for watercolor. It could work for Copics or, colored pencils, things like that. But if you were to stamp this in a dark color like a black, this would all just be really, really dark. You wouldn't be able to get much color in here. So it's changed up. But look how cute it is with a pumpkin. It really is cute like this, which made me think of the fall. Because the original, obviously, I was thinking fall with this. And so that's why I did the leaves and the apples. And also, there are a lot of pumpkins. So I've got quite a few pumpkins that would fit in here. Whether you have one set or multiple sets, there are pumpkins that will fit in here. So I didn't feel like I needed to add the pumpkin. But the apples, I think, would be really cute. And the leaves are really cute. Okay, so here's that original, and so this comes with this. This comes with this, and then here is the bonus one, because you guys, you just love these bonus ones. So here is the bonus exclusive, and it's a little barrel. I had a barrel, and let me show you what it looks like. And I thought I should do something that would go with the theme of this one. Now let me see if I can find it in here. This is from the 97 catalog, and it is this one right here. So I had this apple barrel, and again, it's pretty busy, And I wanted to kind of stick with the theme of the barrel. So I picked this one, but I did a half barrel because a half barrel is so cute as a planter. And you could put all kinds of things in there. You could put your little duck in there. You know, she would be really cute in here. And then, of course, you know, I added these little kittens to it. So you can use the kittens from the Mailbox set and put them in here. And then, of course, you can just fill the whole thing up with florals too. So let me move this out of the way and show you the actual size of it. So this is the actual size of this. Barbara says the catalog could itself be a coloring book. Yes, true. Yes, it could. Oh my word, with all the little stippling and everything in it, honestly, it kind of gives me anxiety looking at it. Because I have so much. I was so trying to get the detail in there and the dimension, so the 3D look, and I was trying so hard to get that in there, and it's so many lines. It's so many lines. It's so much easier now to use, you know, by just doing it this way. So I think this little half barrel is cute. It's this is the actual size. So let me tell you what size it is. It is about 2 1/4, and the full size below is about 3/4 inches. So it's just a really cute size. The whole thing together, like the whole combination, is about 3 inches, somewhere in there. 3 inches by about 2 1/8, something like that. So it's a good size for a card to just, you know, add to a card or do something simple. And of course you can fill it up again. So you could put pumpkins in there, you could put the apples in there, you could just fill it up with just whatever, and you know, whatever scene. I'm sure those little presents would fit in there too, which could be really cute. You could put these little guys, you could put the presents in, and then you could put some little flowers next to it, because there's a lot of space to add things in here. So this one's a really cute one. So this one is the bonus one, and it's the half barrel 6095, and these are all available until Thursday, 12 o'clock midnight Pacific time, and then they will all go away. So you have until Thursday to decide if you just cannot live without these. The barrel with the cats would be cute with them floating in water. You know what? That's a great idea. I never thought of that. You could float this in water. That would be so cute. That would be really, really cute. Great idea. I've already got a visual of it. I've got a visual in my head. And you know, you could just put a little sail on it too. I think that would just be so cute, really whimsical. Okay, so let me move this aside and this aside. So these are the 2 samples, so you can get an idea of how big these are. This is the actual basket that is part of the throwback set. So it shows on the package the sample of it in the basket, but it is actually just the duck, just this duck, because this comes with the throwback. So if you buy that official throwback set, you'll get this free. You don't have to order it. You will just get it free. It will come with this set. And then this is the add-on. This is the little bonus throwback, just because you guys love these so much. And then of course our little promo one, the little chicken, EF0725. This is the one we brought back this month. Every month we bring one of these back, these little promo stamps. And you can see them all on our website. So if you go to the very top, click Get Inspired, and the Collector's Guide, you'll see them all on there. And these have never been for sale, but we are kind of systematically bringing them back one at a time for those of you who collect them. And she is good now one more time until Thursday night. Okay, Diana says, I can see a Christmas tree and the presents in the half barrel. Yep. Exactly, Diana. How cute. That's exactly what I thought when I was thinking about doing the Christmas one. Yep, I thought that would be just so cute to do that little snowy tree and then the presents, and then, you know, some snow on top of the presents, and it would just look so festive. Okay, all right, so let me just move these things out of the way, and then I will do a recap at the end. So let's zoom out a little bit. I'll do a recap at the end for those of you who may have come on here late, so that you can see. But once more, here is that throwback set. It is 6094. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stamps in this set. And all of these little things are made to go in the basket, in this basket. Everything fits in here just perfectly. So you will have no problem fitting it in there. And use your positioner. Use your positioner, and then it's foolproof, because these are rubber, so you can't see through them where to position them. So you will need to use a positioner like this one. Okay, so let's get to our project. We're going to do this one tomorrow, and then I'll show you the Christmas one. Excuse me. Okay, so here's how I stamped it. Andrea, this throwback is adorable. I love it. My daughter and her roommate track duck sightings at college, so I have to have that duck to make them some cards. I would love to win any of the projects you're giving away today. Yep, I'm giving them away for sure. How cute. How cute to send them a little card. Oh, they'll just love that. They will just love it. Yes, you guys, I'll be giving these away. So be sure to say that in the comments that you would like to win one of these. And you just might. Leah picks our winners. And so you just might win one of these. Okay, so let's get started here. This, of course, is part of the stamp. So I stamped this little part first. And then I decided to use the 2 baskets on here. So I just inked about, this is probably like literally a 1/2 inch maybe. Let's see. Well, it's 3/4, about 3/4 of an inch of the post. So that's 3/4 right there. So that's about how much of the post I inked. And, you know, keep that in mind, because, you know, you don't have to ink the whole thing. And it's just a matter of drawing a line in if you want to make the post longer. So better to err on a little shorter if you're going to put a basket right down here. You know, this comes with longer lines and the shorter one here. So this is actually the way that it comes. And the reason it's like that is because this basket generally sits in front, and you have to have enough space to put things in it so you're not fighting these lines. I just hate fighting lines when I want to put something in front. So I just left that off, and then it's easy to draw that line down to where you want it, just with your pencil. So I only colored part of this. And then what I did is I stamped the cats first, just because I thought it would be easier rather than trying to stamp the basket and then making sure the cats fit under the mailbox. So it worked better, I think, to stamp the cats next, and they fit perfectly in here. So I just stamped them straight, like directly under under that mailbox. So once I kind of had this line in, you know, this kind of 3/4 inch line in here, and I had inked this whole thing, I just used my positioner and I stamped these right underneath, just kind of a little bit off to the side. And you can see, if you want to stamp it exactly where I did, the ear, let me zoom in a little bit, is right between the 2 lines. And then just straight, just stamp it straight. And then all of these are stamped with the 2 colors. So the blue first, the 565, and then right over the top, the 969. And then stamp off twice. Stamp off twice because they're rubber. So you want to be sure and do that. Then I stamped the basket under it, just easy. Stamp that, and it fits right in these little guys. See, here's the edge of the stamp right here, and here's the little basket, and they fit perfectly in there. So once I had this done, then I just covered the edge, you know, with a piece of Post-it tape like this, and I tip the bucket a little bit because it adds a little more interest. Anything that is too straight on the ground, just, you know, it's a little boring to me. So I just tip this down a little bit, and it kind of gives you the impression that the ground is a little uneven, that maybe the mailbox is a little bit on a hill, and it adds a little bit more interest to do that. So I just tipped it a little bit, and I took off, you know, probably about this much of the basket. And it doesn't matter. You could tuck it back there even farther if you want to. And now I have lots of space in here to add my florals and anything else. Linda says, the set is amazing. Bringing this back, you hit it out of the ballpark. Oh, Linda, that is so kind of you. Thank you so much. These things are just so fun, you know, for so many different reasons. You know, I know where I was, you know, how old I was when I created that. And it just seems, I mean, it's been decades ago. But it is fun to look back and then rework these things to make them a little more current and a little more user friendly, because nothing is cheap anymore these days, you guys. Everything is expensive, and you got to have value. You know, that's always, I always feel like that. There's got to be value in these things, that you can use them in multiple different ways. So I feel like that's the case, and especially with this little basket. I don't know what it is about it, but I really, really like it. It doesn't have too many lines, and it's just a really, really good size. So I feel like you'll be using this basket a lot for different things. You will. And you know what's going to happen? I'm going to be tempted to use it, and then I can't because it's part of the throwback set. So I can't use it in anything that I'm going to be using in the future. But you guys can. So, you know, keep that in mind. Keep it in your preferred, with your preferred stamps. I have, you know, my stamps are literally all over the place, but I have my go-tos, and I'm really trying to break out of that, but I have my go-tos that I just grab, and I would have this in my go-to. This little basket, I for sure would have it in there. Okay, so that's how I stamped it. Stamp it off twice, and then just add these pieces in there. And if you were just going to do one basket, I would do this one underneath, and see, it goes clear over here. You know, this is actually where the edge is, right here. So it fits perfectly under here. And then you can drag this down a little bit, but for the most part, you could add some foliage in here, some vines kind of growing up, the mailbox, and you could just fill that in. And if you need to, just bring this line down, and finish up that post. So just really, really simple to make adjustments. Cheryl says, off the wall questions. What do the different colors of each of the top of package stamps mean? Is there a purpose, like for organizing or something? Cheryl, no. There's no purpose. And you know what? If I were an organized person and starting all over, I probably would do it that way. But they just go with the project. And so the color kind of, you know, is on there because of what's in the project or what's the time of the year, you know, if it's Christmas or whatever. But there isn't any, like, you know, organized method to it. Again, that's my weak area, organization, you guys, my weak area. Shut the door, and if I don't see it, it doesn't bother me. You know, that's how I live. Put it in the drawer, close the drawer, and I'm good. Yes, no meaning to the title colors, none, other than they're cute. Okay, so let's get going here. So I have got my water, and I'm going to get my brush wet. So I'm just going to go with my number 4. So let's just get the water in sight. And, you know, really saturate your brush till you see all the bubbles kind of come out. You want to really get your brush saturated. And then just, you know, just tapping it off like this. And then pinch it. Pinch it off like this and get the majority of the water off. And from then on, only dip the tip. That should be a stamp. Dip the tip. Only the tip. Okay, so we're just going to start out by, you know, just pulling some color out of the lines where it's going to be darker. You know, in here, this is going to be darker on this little lip here, in here. This would be a shadow here, along this edge and along this edge. You can see that color just bleeding out. And this under here, that's going to be really dark under there. And then some of this, you know, we don't have to do too much. We just kind of got to get a start here so we can just see what we're working with. You see how that brings these little bands forward. Just adding that shadow underneath brings it forward. That's why the shadow goes below it, because that brings it forward. If we put the shadow on here, on the other side of the line, then it's going to push it down and it's going to be sunk into the basket. And then we can add just a little bit of color on that, and you know, just a little bit on these planks. We don't have to do a ton, but you can see what happens when you add the color in here. See how it just creates that little crease? That's my style too. Close the door and nobody is allowed to go my arm. Okay, raise your hand if you can identify with that with me. And if not, then I know all my type A people out there are they're absolutely groaning at that. They can't imagine. I so aspire to be a organized person, you guys. I just so admire it, and how people just naturally can just put things away and put it where it goes and just kind of have everything neat and organized. I think that would be amazing, to be like that, but you know, alas, that is not me at all. It's not. But you know, we're all different. We have our own abilities, and you know, if that's not yours, like mine, like it's not mine, I get it. I absolutely get it, but we can just so admire it in other people. Okay, so I just took a little bit of this color out of the lines here. We don't want too much. That's why it's really important to stamp these off twice, because these are tiny little stamps, and if there's too much color in the lines, you're not going to be able to get any additional color in there. You know, so it's really, really important to, you know, stamp that color off. You want to obviously we want to get some of the color on here, but just not too much. Okay, so these little guys, really we don't have too much to do on here. We can pull a little bit out like this. You know, and anything that's a contour, you know, obviously is going to be darker on the edges or down below, darker down below. So these little guys are starting to look pretty good. Siska says, it depends. I try really hard to be organized. Oh my goodness, me too. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to be organized. George, it starts out that way. Yes, that's why everything that I do just starts to cave in on me, and I end up with a tiny little section to work in, and I don't know why that happens. I think part of it is because the pins roll, and I think, you know, but then everything is just in the way, and just like doesn't matter what I do. I try. Ellen says definitely agree. Great. I'm glad you know, misery loves company. So I am so glad to hear that I'm not the only one in the chaos world. Okay. All right. So let's get to the color now. So we're going to put some color onto our palette. So we're going to need some sky color. And let me just tell you what these numbers are, because I didn't show it in the screen. So I'll tell you, this is the 526. Oops, I'm going to have to scoot over here a little bit. 526 blue. And then, let's see, we're going to need some red. This is the 856 red. The 947. So this is the brown that we're going to use on the little squirrels. And this is 947. And then we're going to make these little orange tabbies. So you can change the color obviously on these. I just thought orange would be really cute, but you can change them out into maybe the color of your cat that you have, or just change it out to a gray and make them little gray striped. But they're really fun to do these little tabbies, because you can just add the detail in, and they're so cute. This color always looks hideous on the screen for some reason, but it's a beautiful orange. It's the 933. It's a beautiful orange. I love this color, except when I see it on the screen, and then it looks like gold, and it's not that at all. It's not that at all. All right, let's see. What else do we need? Some blue, some of this, 565. I have 65, and I think maybe a little tiny bit of green. So the 177. So this is 177 green. And let's just zoom out a tiny bit so you can see all those colors on here. Okay, so let's start. Where should we start? Let's start with the little squirrels, and I'm going to switch out my brush then. I'm going to use my small brush because these are just, they're so tiny little guys. And we're just going to take a little bit of color and just kind of carefully add some color to these. So I'm just going to start out here and just gradually add a little bit of this color in here, and leave the top, you know, lighter. Just kind of leave that top a little bit lighter, or some little white spots in it. And then we'll add a little bit more to each section. So really what we're doing is we're just kind of going into each section and adding a little bit of this color. Just one section at a time. And keep it pretty light because you can always go back in and add a little more color. And I'm just going to keep his little belly light like this. And then we're just going to add the color to the darkest areas because we want to keep his little face light. And you can make the cheeks, you know, pretty dark, but the biggest thing is the eyes, where the eyes are. You just really want to keep that light. And then let's just go a little bit darker in his little ears. And let's go over to his little friend here. And we'll get this little guy. And we'll just keep his little belly light too. And you can see I'm hardly taking any color off my palette, just hardly any. And just kind of take your time with these. And then I'm starting here at the cheek because this is where it's okay to be dark, is on the cheeks. And then, you know, if you feel like it's too dark, just pinch it off and just go really, really, really light. And then let's take just a tiny little bit of this pink and hit their cheeks. And, you know, anything that's on the bottom, you know, like the bottom of their bodies, that's going to be darker. Because think about that, you know, the light is coming from the top. That's why it's lighter up here. And just little, you know, little strokes, take your time. And just make sure the eyes, where the eyes and the nose are super light. Okay, so let's go in and let's take the twin tone and get the little eyes in. So here's where you almost need, you know, a little magnifying glass. And don't use the twin tone on the mouth. Don't use that on the mouth. It'll get too dark and it'll look fake. But you can do it on the eyes and the nose, just like that. And then for the mouth, if the mouth is light and it feels too light to you, you can just use a pencil. And then you can add just a few little A few little lines in the tail, just to kind of darken that up a little bit. And anywhere that it looks like maybe it didn't quite get dark enough, you can just add that. Aren't they cute, little guys? Okay, so let's keep going now. I'm gonna switch over to my other brush, and I'm gonna take some of this blue, so the 526, and I'm just gonna add some blue to the mailbox. Just, you know, kind of at the halfway point. And this is flat, so it doesn't, we don't have to worry about a highlight on here. But you could still just, you know, just leave a little white space if you can. And it's not, you know, it's not critical like it would be if it were rounded if you don't. And then just another little detail stripe. Cute. And then let's get some of this blue, the 565, and we'll get some shadows in. So we want to get a little shadow in here where this little guy is sitting, and this little guy, just a little shadow in there. And then in here inside of the mailbox, that's gonna be pretty dark in here, this little section. So you can show that. And then down here too, where the edge of the mailbox is. And then of course, you know, under here, and then under here. And we can just color this in dark. And then let's add some color to the little letters. And you can just use whatever colors that you want. So let's just add some detail. Something with lines, something with stripes, with dots. Will just really, it will just add a lot to it. Let's see. And then what did I have over here? Some red stripes. You know, I don't know if I could do something without stripes. Not something like this. I'm gonna have stripes on something. Okay, so now we can leave this little envelope white, and we can just put a little shadow on it. And this little hook underneath, we can do that. And then let's just take some of this and get that shadow in under here. In that. And we really need a shadow across the top here. Just bring your brush straight down, and that will kind of tuck all of these things back inside your mailbox. Okay, so now let's go on to the little kitties. So let's get them colored. We're just going to apply this color just really lightly to start. And again, where it's going to be the darkest. So around here to the edges. And the little cheeks. I should switch. I'm going to switch over to my little brush again. The little ears, and just, you know, that's the rule. Just always make sure that the face you know, where the eyes are is light. And you're going to just be happier with it. And just keep pinching your brush off. You know, if you feel like it's too dark, just keep pinching your brush and get it drier and drier. Okay. Get his little chest white. And, you know, of course, the more passes that you make, the darker that they'll get. So let's get some of this red and get there a little, whoops, a little too dark. Get their little cheeks in. Okay, so now, of course, we have to fix the eyes. And just, you know, be careful that you don't make them too big. Try to make them the size that they are on here, and don't, you know, try not to go outside the parameters. Let's put these little lines back in the ears here, and then let's put in the little whiskers. And the mouths, you know, they look a little light, so we can just do the that with a pencil. But you can see that it would just be too dark if you tried to do that with that twin tone, just way too dark. Okay, so now we're gonna just put a little color into the background, and we're just gonna do that with this 526. So we're just going to take some of this and just add it to the background. And then we'll just put a little bit over here. And just put a little bit in here, maybe just a tiny bit up here. And that's good enough. Okay, so let's add just a little bit of color now to the baskets. And I made this really pretty light, just like a hint of color on here. And this is that really pretty blue. Just brush it on, and you can see I'm leaving the highlight, you know, kind of in the center. And then we'll get a little darker shadow in here. Like so. And then we can start putting our foliage in. So let's do that. I'm going to grab a piece of Post-it tape. I'm just going to cover the basket here so they don't get a bunch of stamping over the top of that basket. So let's start out with this little stamp. And did I tell you guys what I'm using? I need to do that really quick. So here's what I'm using is this one that's kind of leaning to the left. This one right here from flower set 6. And then flower set 3, these two. And then the little grass and the vine from the foliage set, and the branch, this little branch right here. And that's it. That's all we need. Just those things. And you can choose whichever flowers if you don't have these flowers, you can choose whichever ones you want. Okay, so let's add the foliage in here. And then the flowers. So that will be this blue. And let's just make sure that's going to stamp. Perfect. Okay. Let's do that again then. Sometimes I have ink on here and I'm not sure what color is on it. So I always try to just stamp it off and just make sure I'm going to get some really good color. Okay, so I'm just going to add in some of these flowers, just wherever. So we'll just put a couple more in here like that. And you can see they're safely tucked into the little basket, so we're not going to have any issues there. And then I'm going to cover that again. And I'm going to use this little branch. And we're going to use the green. We're just going to ink it in the green. And it's going to just kind of grow up like this. And we can just keep going up just a little bit like that. And then we'll add some foliage to it. Now let's see what's on this. Okay, I think that's, looks like there was another color on there, but. And then we're just going to add some foliage in here like this. I'm just going to tap it in. Like so. And then actually let's just put in a little bit of it in here into the basket. So you can see that's protected in there. So let's just add some water now to this whole thing. So we're just going to dab at these leaves. We want to see some of this, detail on these leaves, but not too terribly much. And then these, we'll just add some water in here. Cheryl says, it always amazes me how the images just come to life with a stroke or two like magic. You know what, Cheryl? I still feel that way after all these years, like years and years and years of doing this. And having it go from line art to actually a watercolor, I just think it's so fun. I'm still just amazed by the whole thing. And it's really just really the markers that does it. Just touching that color just kind of brings it to life. And then, it's easy enough that anyone can do it. And the more you practice, the better at it you're going to get, 100%. Okay, so you can see mine looks a little different than this one because it's just going to. Every time you do it, it's going to look a little bit different. So I'm just going to add a few more little vines coming out just because I have a lot of foliage going on here. So I'm just going to bring out a little bit more like this. And then maybe just another little one up there. And so we've got a bigger plant coming out. All right, so now let's add our red in here. If you have room, and sometimes it's just not going to be a lot of room. So we'll just put this in if we can. And we'll just ink it up. And I think I'm going to use my positioner because I'm getting really tight for space in here. So I'm just going to use this. Let's just move this out of the way now. So I'm going to use my stamp positioner, place that little L bar in the corner, and then ink my blooms. So let's just ink the vine here. I don't think we're going to need too much of it. So maybe just down to that little point. And then the red blooms. And then we'll just stamp it in here. Now we can see where that's going to go. I think that's probably good right there. I kind of feel like that's a good spot. And I don't know, we might not have room to fit any other ones in there, so that's okay. All right, so I'm going to put this back, and I'm going to re-ink this. So we'll get the blooms. And then we're going to get the vines. And I probably should put my little Post-it note back, just because. Cute. And then we can just add the water to it. Like so. And maybe we could fit another one. If we could clean this off really good. I normally have a baby wipe, but I sure don't today. Well, you know what? This is usually how I clean my stamps, you guys, so why my hands get so inked up, but this is usually how I do it. It really, truly is. Okay, so I think if we just pick these two, maybe these two right here, the two in the middle, maybe, and we just kind of put them, let's just put them right. Let's just put them right there. I think that's good. I think that'll be cute, and I'll kind of fill it in a little bit more. So we only want the two. We just want these two. So just this one and this one. And let's see if this works. Okay, cute. We got a few more little flowers in here. And remember, you guys, you're going to get just what you ink. So you don't have to ink the whole thing, ever. Okay, so let's take this off. And we've got our little baskets finished. So let's go in now with some grasses. So the little grass, we're just going to use that same green. And just kind of, you know, bring this down a little bit. And then this over here can kind of look like it's, you know, maybe just going up a little bit. And again, just because it's not, to keep it from looking flat. Just because of that. So we can add our that little grass in here. And then let's put in some of that wild grass. So when you're stamping this, make sure that this one on the edge, see, here's the one from the other one. So these are mirrors. So you want to make sure this edge is straight. This edge right here. And this edge is straight up and down. So we're going to use it over on this side. And so I want to make sure that that is on my block straight, and I don't need the whole thing. I'm just going to ink just a few of these little things, and I'm just going to stamp it right here, just one time. Isn't that cute? And then maybe I need just a part of this, and maybe just a short piece, and I'll just put a couple over there. And then let's do this one, and we'll just take a couple of this one. And we'll stamp it over here. So you can see how cute that is. And it's simple. It's just simple. You can do it multiple times, but if you want it just kind of an accent, just do it. Just ink it one time and stamp it one time on your image. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my my twin tone, And I'm just going to add a couple of little details in here. These little bands, I'm just going to add these little, details onto. And see this one, it's going to come across the top. See that little line there? And then just don't put them in the, same exact spot. And then, if they're kind of old, just make a little V and add, some color in there. And it'll kind of look like they're just kind of cracking. Here's where you can do the detail, because if it's on the stamp and it's too detailed, it's going to add too much color. So maybe we've got a little bit of it over here. And here. And then this is going to be pretty dark under here, and maybe we can add just some details on the sides of this. Adding the details, you guys, at the end just makes such a difference. And you can add, some details in the wood too, on your post if you have room. On here. And in here. Okay. And this little section in here, this can be pretty dark inside the mailbox. And actually this too. Inside there. You can see how that just, adds dimension just by making that really, really dark. Okay. And now we can just pull a little bit of this brown out. Just to add a little more kind of an antique-y look. Okay, we are ready for some white paint, you guys. We got to add some white paint to this. Debbie says, I really truly love how versatile you've made this with all the possibilities to make it unique each time. Oh gosh, you can, you guys. You can make it so different every time. Look how different it is actually just this time. I mean, it's totally different. And it's going to be every time you do it, but you can just dress it up just by changing the colors too. Changing the color palette, and it's going to look so different. And then, of course, the occasion too. All right, so let's add some white paint because we just have to. And especially on these florals, it just will just make it so happy. Who does that remind you of? Bob Ross. Happy little trees and rocks and happy little mistakes. I have happy little mistakes all the time, like literally all the time. And so I can put in some little flowers in here in the grass. And then we can put some bigger ones in here. Adding those in. There, like that. So cute. And I think I put a little heart on here. And I think that's probably all we have to do. If you want, you could add just a little center in a couple of these and add some white detail in here. But really, that's about all we have to do. So I'll clean my brush off. I want to tell you one more thing with that little grass stamp. When you're stamping that little grass, when you go to stamps, let's ink the whole thing. So when you go to stamp this, you don't want to put any pressure in the top because that's where all the details are. And see what happens, you'll get this darker, thicker line up here. And that's because you're putting more pressure on the top. So let's do it again. And the more pressure that you put on it, especially if you roll it off, you're going to get really dark up here in the top. So what you want to do is you want to kind of do the opposite. You want to put the pressure down on the bottom and then very lightly on the top. So let's do that again. More ink here. So when you go to stamp it, you're going to just put the pressure on here and just very lightly on the top. So you don't get that dark line like this on here. It really makes a difference. It really, really, really does. And then, remember, you can just ink part of it and still the same. And you can just use this, in a smaller area. So less pressure at the top. And then as you're going, less pressure at the top so that you don't get this wide mark here at the top. So it just means tipping your stamp back a little bit, more pressure on the bottom, and not as much on the top. Okay? Okay, you guys. Let's just do a quick recap here. So tomorrow, a Watercolor Wednesday, we'll do the fall project, and then I'll show you the Christmas one so that you can see how to do it. And then just, take a screenshot and you'll have it. You'll have it down. So here is the actual throwback set. It has 8 stamps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is all one. And with it comes the free stamp, which is the little duck. And she is in this little basket. So that's what this one is. And she fits perfectly in there. This is your free gift that you get with this set. So if you buy the throwback, you will get this automatically as a free gift. And then this is the bonus throwback. So it's the little half barrel. This is exactly what it looks like. And here is the sample of both of those. Here's this sample that shows the little duck in the bucket. And here is this one. So this is the actual size of that. And you can see exactly how to paint it. Just add your florals in there. Here's the same florals that we used today with the white paint, same little kitties. You can just fill this up with whatever. So this is the bonus one. It's available on the website. So this one is 6095, the half barrel. This is 6094. This one comes with it. And then this is the little promotion stamp that is released this month. So we brought this little girl back, and she's back just till Thursday. So Thursday at midnight, you guys. You have until Thursday at midnight Pacific time, and then these will be gone. And none of these will ever be for sale after that. Okay, so let me switch back so that I can say hello and goodbye to all of you and tell you thank you for watching. I hope you guys like this tutorial. It's just super fun one to do and actually super, super easy. So Zilla says, yay the chicken. So for those of you who might be collecting these promo ones, like this little chicken, these have never been for sale. These are free gifts that we gave for an order. So for example, if you purchased an order at X amount of dollars, usually it was about $30, you got a little free stamp like this in your order. And they were never for sale. So they were exclusive and only for that time period, and usually for the year or for the half year. And then, you know, when they're gone, they were gone. And then new ones came out. So a lot of you collect these and are missing some. So we bring them back once a month from the archives. And this little chicken is back now. And she's back until Thursday. And then she will be gone away forever. Goodbye. So you guys, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate your comments so much. See you tomorrow with that fall one. And if you can't make it tomorrow, it will of course stay archived on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. So you'll be able to catch it later. So thank you all, everyone. You can reorder them. Okay, what is Debbie saying? Or you can reorder them in rubber. Yes, right. So the little promotional ones were clear. And now they're in rubber because they are back with the throwbacks. So you can get them in rubber now if you are just a huge rubber fan. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. I will see you all tomorrow, 10 o'clock Pacific time for Watercolor Wednesday. Have a great rest of your day, and see you tomorrow.